I'm Rory Golod, the President of Growth and Communications here at Compass. I'm really excited today to be joined by Jennifer and Andrew Oldham, who are our founding agents in Silicon Valley and have been at Compass for now over 7 years. So excited to have you both here. We're going to be talking about how to win more listings, protect value for your sellers, and leverage the power of multi-phase marketing to help you grow your business, with a particular focus on the Compass 3-phase marketing strategy, which is a strategy that we are incredibly excited about, that we've seen amazing success with over the last number of months with our agents and their clients. Andrew, Jennifer, the two of you are not only top agents at Compass, but you're also incredibly well-versed in the power of pre-marketing and multi-phase marketing. So really excited to have you both here. Let's start off. We talk a lot at Compass about this idea that days on market, public price changes, they're the killers of value. And using pre-marketing can help avoid those types of negative insights and create better outcomes for your clients. I'm assuming during your time in real estate, you haven't always pitched this concept. It's probably something you started doing at some point. What was the change there? And what's been the catalyst for you to start to adopt this strategy on your listings?
Well, one of the things we enjoy about Compass and what brought us to Compass was that Compass is always looking for better tools and resources and ways to improve us as agents. So it's like a kid at Christmas. It feels like every quarter or so, there's a new product or resource or tool that enables us to be better. And when we say better, we're focused on our clients. So we always want to be the best we can for our clients. And when 3-tiered marketing came along, we said, this is perfect. This is terrific for our clients. It's terrific for our sellers. And it has really good application for our buyers as well. So when we talk about days on market, it's always about preparing for a listing, right? What you're trying to do is get the listing in the best possible shape you can, so that when you start to accrue days on market, the property looks as best as it can. Because days on market, as Robert says, is a value killer. And it truly is, because the perception, especially in the Bay Area, is that a house has over 14 days on market, as ridiculous as that sounds.
Yeah, something's wrong with it.
There must be something wrong with the house, or it's either overpriced or there's something wrong with it, right? So that it's always about buyer perception of your home. And this 3-tiered marketing allows us to perfect that buyer perception and avoid this prolonged days on market.
Yeah, which is so critical. Now, as the name implies, there are 3 phases, right? So I want to go through each one, because it's really, because they're all important and they all matter. I think people sometimes mistake this for just the first phase, the private exclusive phase. There's so much more than that. Let's go through it though. So Compass private exclusives. Private exclusives obviously allow you to start marketing a listing internally to your fellow Compass agents within the brokerage and clients that are working directly with them, without accruing days on market, without accruing public price changes, right? It's not available to the full public yet. Walk me through how you articulate that part of the strategy to clients.
Sure.
And we just did that too.
Yeah, we feel like we do it every day.
Yeah. We do.
I'm an analogy guy, so I love analogies, as does Jen. So
do I.
We're in the Bay Area, so we're foodies out here. We have the French Laundry. So if Thomas Keller was going to introduce a new dish, he's not going to immediately serve it, right? He's going to test it. He's going to prepare it. He's going to see it needs more salt, needs more this or that. And then he's going to have a test kitchen where the other chefs look at it. So that's how we describe it to our client. This is an opportunity to perfect your listing before it gets served to the general public. We want your home to look as good as it possibly can, whether it be photography, videography, pricing, repairs, inspections. We want that to be just bulletproof by the time we go on the MLS and ultimately get propagated throughout the internet, right? We want that perception to be just as good as it possibly can. And we owe that to our client. That's our fiduciary duty as an agent, is to be the best agent that we can for that seller.
Yeah.
But Rory, here's what it's not. And here's where we get a little bit frustrated on. on some of the perception of private exclusive. It is not an attempt for us to double into deal.
No.
It never is. In fact, our team and our agents on our team, we don't double in deals. We don't think that that's the best way to serve our seller. But the best way to serve our seller is to prepare the home so that it looks as best as it can throughout this three-tiered. And ultimately, the exposure it gets is as good as it possibly can.
Yeah. You know, I'm really happy to hear you say that, because this strategy has nothing to do with selling deals internally or double ending deals. 94% of the listings that go through the 3-phase marketing strategy are going on the market. So that would indicate to you that only 6% remain private exclusive. And of those, there are agents who are not at Compass who bring buyers. And so the amount of deals that are actually being done internally only is very, very small. I can't even tell you how many have been double-ended, because we don't track that. It's not relevant. Ultimately, the goal here, as you described, is how do you help the seller sell their home as fast as possible for the most amount of money with the least amount of hassle? Like, those are the 3 things that matter. And so, yeah, I'm happy to hear you share that. And, you know, I find that the private exclusive phase, the great thing about it is it's the ultimate solution to any seller concern. And I always say to an agent, when you're talking to a seller, any pushback you get, any hesitancy on working with you, or any concerns can be solved with private exclusive. And if you think about it, hey, you're telling me the home's worth $2 million. I think it's worth 2.4. Great. We'll put it in at 2.4, but we'll do it as a private exclusive. So I can give you the feedback. I'm not ready to sell. Okay, no big deal. Let's put it on as a private exclusive. How do I know you're the right agent? Let me prove it to you. Let's put it on as a private exclusive.
That's right. That's right.
Do you guys ever encounter that, where you get sort of pushback from sellers and you can actually use private exclusive as the way to kind of help get them comfortable?
Every day.
Yes, every day.
And one of the things that's unique to Silicon Valley, we're very RSU driven.
Right.
So as the stock market goes, so does Silicon Valley real estate.
Right.
So when we're seeing this incredible market volatility, and we're seeing the portfolios jump from up and down, the ability to time the market, although got the dog noise here.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping the dog would join us for the call. He's making his presence felt. That's good.
Quincy just said, "You're right, Andy."
Yeah.
Good job.
So timing the market's critical. Maybe it's a fool's errand to try to time the market, but it's important out here. And that's one of the major concerns our clients have. In fact, we just had that conversation yesterday on a private exclusive. And we said, here's the beauty. We can time this around your needs and around the seller needs. Because if our the buyers we're going after are at Apple, and Apple stock just dropped 25% or went up 10%, or in literally the house is next to the Netflix campus, right? Then we need to be aware of those market dynamics, and the ability to time things with private exclusive is a huge point for our client.
That's really, it's so smart. And you're right. Anytime every client is impacted by what's going on in the macroeconomic environment. But when you have clients who are tied to specific industries or specific asset classes, as they move, this gives you that flexibility to be adaptable with them. So you've got the private exclusive phase. I find that most agents have listings in private exclusive. You know, you can count them in terms of days. It's usually anywhere from a couple days to maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, you know, that's kind of phase 1. And in some markets, even they're only private exclusive for a day or 2 because the market moves so fast. Right. Then you have phase 2, which is Compass coming soon, which is the listing goes on compass.com. So now the whole world can see it, but only on compass.com. And the benefit obviously there is we do not show days on market. We do not show price or status changes. So talk to me how you then articulate the second phase of moving from private exclusive to Compass coming soon.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the French Laundry. Thomas,
keep it going. I'm picturing being in the restaurant, and they would never just say like, "Hey, we just invented this, and we're gonna serve it."
So now we've got the idea, we've got the meal, we know what we want to do. Now we want to test it. Now we want to serve it to a few people. That's what coming soon is for us. This is our ability to actually test the pricing, test the market, test the staging. What we want is feedback. We value feedback, because feedback is going to allow us to get better and better with how we promote this listing. So that's how we use that phase. And just like private exclusive, it can be days, it can be weeks where we're in the coming soon category.
Yeah.
And every house is unique, every seller need is unique. But by the time we go coming soon, we want that meal to be just about perfect, right?
Yeah.
And then we can decide when we go active. And sometimes we'll find out that, wow, those photographs are not flattering, or your pricing strategy is horrible, or, and it allows us just to do those final tweaks so that when we go active, we're as perfect as possible.
Yeah, I found that coming soon is great because, private exclusive phase, given Compass is the #1 brokerage in the country, and we have such significant market share, and we have so many great agents, private exclusive, you get a lot of exposure to agents. Then you have coming soon, which is now out for the world to see because it's on compass.com. And compass.com gets millions of visitors a month. So you have this next phase. It's almost as if you're building the exposure. You go to bigger and bigger audiences, which logically makes sense. You don't start with the biggest audience and then go backwards. You build and you build and you build. You use the restaurant analogy. I use the movie trailer analogy, right? A Hollywood studio, they have the focus group phase where they show the movie to small groups. They edit it, they tweak it. Then they do pre-screenings, which I would almost think is the coming soon phase, or a small trailer, right? And then maybe a longer trailer. And then obviously it's in theaters. And that can be really powerful on the coming soon side.
Yeah. And the market dynamics are in the meantime changing dramatically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one thing on coming soon, the rules around coming soon are unique in every market, because every market, every MLS has a different rule as it relates to public marketing. Private exclusive, you can do anywhere. It's the same thing everywhere. Coming soon, obviously dictated by the local market. I think it's worth saying, I find it very confusing how unelected trade groups can make decisions restricting seller choice. The seller should be able to decide whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do. But that's for a different webinar. So we've got coming soon phase, and usually we let it build. And then the third phase, which is going on the MLS onto aggregators and third-party websites. Talk to me how you kind of then transition into that phase and what that looks like.
Well, what we try to do is we develop a marketing strategy throughout this entire process, right? And that marketing strategy, we're going to identify who's our buyer persona. How best are we going to reach that buyer persona? What is more attractive to that buyer? Is it the yard? Is it the kitchen? So that we can highlight those specific things. And we have that videography and photography just dialed. That is going to be, for the vast majority of buyers, that's going to be their first exposure to that is the photography or videography. So we make sure that that's really as good as it can be, and we test it. We get feedback from not just the seller, but like you said, from all the agents in the community, hopefully from some other buyers as well. And we launch it, and we want it to show across the listing aggregators as good as it can. We want to be the #1 attraction on those, and we want to have the most views, the most hits. We really do believe that the higher the demand, the higher the price. So our job is to build that demand around the seller's needs and wants, right? So what we're always trying to do is to create more demand, more offers, higher prices, and having those two tiers in front of active is incredibly helpful.
Yeah. I want to talk real quickly though. You mentioned the benefit to buyers. Talk to me about the benefit to buyers, because, and I'm going to share, you have one of the best, a couple of lines, I'm going to read it, that I've ever heard about how to leverage inventory to get buyers comfortable to working with you, and also signing buyer exclusive agreements, which is still a new thing for a lot of buyers. That rule change only came about, actually about a year ago was announced. It's been in place less than a year in many markets in the country. Talk to me kind of buyers and where you see the benefit there.
Sure. So it's two different hats, and most agents wear both hats, right? They wear the buyer hat, they wear the seller hat, and they're not to be confused, and we don't mix the two either. So we represent a lot of buyers. For our buyers, aside from knowing that we're doing a terrific job of representing them from a negotiation, from a risk mitigation standpoint, they want to know that they're getting the best exposure to the best homes that they possibly can throughout the process. We talked about days on market here. In the past, there was an average of, on an attractive home, 10, 20, 30, sometimes 50 offers. It's ridiculous, right? So the ability to get a buyer in front of homes early in the process to help them understand what it's going to take to buy a home in Silicon Valley, what the actual process is. Hey, we do disclosures up front out here, all the nuances is super important. So when we have the ability to say, if you use us, you're going to get exposure to listings that are in this preparatory phase. And when that happens, we're going to be able to hopefully expose you to these listings, and you can help refine your search. So we use it that way, is that one, we're terrific buyers agents regardless, but now we have something else that's unique. We have the opportunity to get you in front of homes that you're not going to see elsewhere because of this private exclusive category.
Yeah, the line, the sentences that you use, I'm going to read because I just think they're so good. At Compass, our team has access to a wide range of listings that match your criteria, including many exclusive properties that are not publicly advertised and exclusive to Compass. To provide you with the most comprehensive home search experience and ensure we can show you these off-market opportunities, we require signing a buyer agency agreement. This agreement allows us to fully represent your interests and offer you our complete range of services. I mean, what a perfect and concise, I know you wrote that, Jen. What a perfect way to just encapsulate it. I think that is so good and really helps to capture it. Now, I imagine as much as the 3-phase marketing strategy makes so much sense, I have to imagine you're getting questions from clients, maybe pushback. We've almost been institutionalized to think that I get a listing, got to throw it immediately everywhere, put it on the market as fast as possible. That actually runs counter to just about every luxury marketing principle ever. But talk to me about some of the real life situations where you get pushback from clients or questions, or where they're confused, and how you navigate those.
I don't think we've gotten a lot of pushback. I think for us, we're always marketing ourselves as marketing professionals. That's what we're doing. We're sitting down talking to people saying our job is to do X, Y, and Z for you. It's to help market your home properly. So I don't know. I don't think I've gotten much pushback. Have you?
Well, I can give you we'll give you a couple of scenarios. Yeah. And one of them is the extreme scenario that you never think comes along, and it did, right? We're thinking, well, that never happens, but it just did happen for us. And that was a seller who has a very nice property in Silicon Valley. They had listed it with a competing brokerage for a period of time. Yeah. They weren't happy with the way that process went, and they were did not like the exposure on the internet. So they valued their privacy. They valued the not being bothered all the time with showings or with open houses. They came to us and said, we want to be private exclusive. Yeah. We didn't get the opportunity to pitch it. They pitched it for us.
That's true. So, yeah. They didn't want the days on market. They had previously, they had over 100 days on market. It's a unique home. Great area, but they just don't want that exposure.
So that's the extreme case, right? Now we have a currently private exclusive, and we just met with them this week, and we said, okay, here's how it's going. A lot of market volatility, but we do think there's going to be a point for us to get the best value for you that we're going to have to go back to being an active listing. But here's the process for it. But in the meantime, we've had the ability to test their current pricing. We've had the ability to value their privacy, to not bother them with all of the stress of the sale. They deeply appreciate that. And so that's the extreme. That's that category that values privacy.
Yeah.
Then
and they're willing to adjust price right now because of the private exclusive phase.
Because it's in that phase.
45 days, it hasn't gotten a lot of bites. It has had 2 showings, and so basically, people viewing it. And
but we've gotten good feedback, right? Yeah. Now we know how to react to it, and now we know how to coach our clients into telling them this is what the right price is, this is what the right staging is, this is how we should time the market based around some of the volatility. So that's that privacy person.
Yeah.
The other type of person we see more often, and that's typically the buy before you sell person.
Mm.
So we have a couple that has a home that has all their equity tied up in it. And, you know, most of their fortune's been tied up in real estate, as we see in the Bay Area, because home values have gone bananas over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
This couple wanted to downsize. They wanted to move out of the area. And we didn't want to put them in a position where they had to rush. We put it on private exclusive. It got great exposure. And they got an offer during the private exclusive phase that was very compelling. And it wasn't a dual agency. It was an outside agent. Brought us an offer. The clients liked it. It accommodated their needs, which was to time their move into a new property that are already identified and to move out on their own time. So private exclusive worked really well for that. So that's another example of where it's very beneficial.
Well, that example, it makes me think, how do you navigate when you're in private exclusive and coming soon? If you're getting showing requests, if you're getting offers, how do you navigate that? Because on one hand, you want to actually build as many requests and offers as you can and keep building it, so that when you go to the market, you already have so much momentum. On the other hand, clients might decide if you hit a number, that's the number. How do you normally sort of navigate that? Because that tends to be a question that comes up a lot from agents.
I like this question because it allows us to pitch one of our listings that we just went active today. So
let's do it.
We have a listing on Torwood in Los Altos. Beautiful home, a ranch story home. It's unique, and we've been private exclusive on it. During that period of time, we've gotten to be able to perfect the staging, perfect the photography, and most importantly, because it is an unusual home, perfect the pricing. So we've gotten good agent feedback about where we need to be. We went coming soon on, I think, Wednesday, and we're active today. During that period of time, we had probably half a dozen buyers say, "Are you taking preemptive offers?" So now we know that we're priced right, that we're getting good activity. And now we can go into this phase where we hold our open houses, and then we can decide whether we set an offer date or not. In the Bay Area, I'm sure you know, Rory, it's all about offer dates, right?
All about offer dates, yep.
Because we're trying to generate multiple offers. So now we're at the point, okay, this is all falling into place, knock on wood. And we're going to go active this weekend. Brokers tour today, open houses tomorrow. And in my perfect world, we'll have an offer date for Wednesday. So if we're still in the market, anybody watching, bring us an offer.
Yeah.
But that to me is how it works to perfection.
Yeah.
And it's also allowed us to time the market too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It allows you the time to market, and it gives your seller a lot of confidence because they then see, wow, we've got momentum. I went on a listing presentation with one of our agents a couple of weeks ago, and the seller said, you know, the agent pitched 3-phase marketing strategy beautifully. And the seller said, you know, it makes so much sense. This is what I'm paying for. I finally understand. They said they've sold multiple homes. They said they never really understood what they were paying for, the services that were provided. They said, now I get it. It's very clear exactly what you're doing. And that makes a lot of sense. And that person, there was no question about the commission in that conversation. They were like, absolutely, sure, let's do it. Let's work together.
You know, Roy, that is a perfect segue to how we use Compass One. Yeah. Because Compass One has been an incredible tool alongside the 3-tiered marketing. Huge. So when we go prior to our listing presentation, we have that project management already loaded up in the Compass One, so that we can say, these are all of the things we need to do to prep your home for sale and deliver it to the market properly. And then they can understand the actual amount of load that we carry to get their home prepped. And included in that is the timing around the 3-tiered marketing. So they work so well together.
Obviously Compass One was built, you know, with that exact thing in mind, right? And for those watching, Compass One is the industry's first client-facing platform where an agent can work with their client, whether they're buying or selling, and give them a dashboard where they can follow along in the entire transaction, see every step of the way, every aspect, every document, everything in a timeline, in a checklist, all there. So the client has transparency and clarity on what's happening. And so obviously, yeah, using that, I could see how that could be really powerful because you're talking about these multiple phases. And it's one thing to talk about it, but then to actually show it to the client and say all the things that are going to happen at each one of these junctures, it makes the work tangible. I think sometimes the challenge for agents is that the client only hears what they're doing, but they don't see it. And, you know, I always say when you work with your accountant, you see the work because your tax returns are really big and there's so many pages and numbers. It's very complicated. It's like, okay, I'm happy to pay for this because I don't want to do any of this. And in our business, if clients could see all the work that goes into a transaction, I don't think the concept of a commission would ever come up, ever. But we, you know, in our business, and you see this a lot in Compass because agents are so good, we are almost too good in the sense that we've shielded our clients from the entire experience. And that's what I think you've really done a good job of honing in on, is how you can marry those two things together.
Yeah.
And back in the day, we would have to use like check sheets, like check, you know, checklists. Oh, here's all the stuff that we're going to do. And it was a lot. So Compass One really helps with that.
Yeah. And our clients are engineers. Our clients are software engineers, software developers. They appreciate having a project timeline, and they appreciate the fact that we've laid it out, that we've outlined the 3-tiered marketing, that we've outlined the steps along each way. So it's
listing a home is a project. It's a project.
It is a project. It is a project. Yeah.
And you wear so many different hats.
I say that all the time. Agents are more project managers than they are salespeople. You know, it really is such an essential part of it. I so appreciate you guys taking time today to talk about this. You are, it's very obvious now, probably to everyone watching, why you are so good at what you do, because you have such a thoughtful and articulate way of presenting these concepts. And so I guess my last question would be, if there's any advice for an agent, because agents can talk about this strategy with their clients immediately. If there's any advice you have for when an agent is maybe newer to pitching this strategy, what would that be?
Understand your tools and resources. Like, you know, just like any craftsman, understand the tools available to you. This is a terrific tool available to you, the Compass. And
Compass, that's right.
You're not going to get better tools. No.
And then listen to your client.
Biggest advice.
Yeah, you're not. If you're listening to their client, what you're going to find out is this tool and this resource is going to be beneficial to them. So if it's that buy before you sell, you're going to be able to meet that with the proper tools and resources. If it's the privacy issue, if it's you're going to have a good way to structure what's best for the client. So listen, pay attention to your fiduciary duty. That should always come first. And know your products. Be an expert. So.
I love that. You know, on the listening part, there was I was having a conversation with an agent who said that she was in a listing presentation with their client, and her client kept saying they needed to move really fast. And so at first they didn't really think this was the right strategy, but she really listened and dialed in and asked them, you know, what was behind the urgency? What was behind the speed?
Right.
And as they deciphered it more, what she realized is it wasn't so much the client needed to move fast to get it listed. The client wanted to close quickly so they could get the funds and actually go and do something else and make a different investment that had a short time horizon. They needed to move money from one asset to another. And by listening and capturing that, what she was able to articulate to them is the speed here is not just about getting the listing on the market. The speed is about the whole transaction. If a transaction takes this many days, that's what we need to focus on. And actually, by doing the 3-phase marketing strategy, we could possibly do this transaction more quickly.
Exactly.
Now we're seeing that in our data, right? We see the listings that do the 3-phase marketing strategy at Compass compared to those that don't are selling for 2.9% more, and they're also going into contract more quickly and closing more quickly. So
we have that exact scenario, Rory. We have a listing presentation yesterday. Gentleman passed away. Beautiful house. Probably worth $3.5 million.
4 generations.
But it is he's got 4 generations of clutter in the house. And
Yeah.
the other thing is he did a reverse mortgage. So he's burning cash like you wouldn't believe. So they literally have a mortgage payment of like 20,000. So now we have to balance speed to get it sold to cut off that whole equity reduction.
Yep.
And prep the home
Yeah.
in the right manner. So private exclusive is perfect for that. We can say, hey, we can go private exclusive tomorrow just so we can start this process. And then we can get the home prepped. In a perfect world, we get an amazing offer as quickly as possible to stop that equity burn. But to me, that's one of those cases where we listened. This is a great solution for them that's going to help them move the house quickly, stop that equity erosion, and get them the highest and best price.
I love that. Well, look, we could spend all day going through these stories, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have things to do. Thank you so much for spending time with us and going through this. There's so much we can learn from this, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys soon.